Hello, are you out there? This is Mark with Homebrew Fever Dreams, and I'm doing a little product homebrew review for my buddy GiveMeDice. So they posted their Ironblood homebrew class. It's really nicely done. When they just hi Mark. This is a homebrew class I made a while back. One of the players in my game is playing the class right now. What do you think? So. GiveMeDice is essentially putting this open for a little bit of critique. I have pre-read the class because obviously it's pretty complex. I want to understand what I'm talking about and how the mechanics of the class are going to work. So if you're interested in seeing this homebrew class, it's done really nicely, and we'll just give a little useful review and just kind of talk about how it works. But it is actually pretty clever, and it is pretty original, to be really quite honest. So also added extra attack. Right, probably at level 5 extra attack would come, if I'm not mistaken. But let's jump into it here. All right, take a look at this. So I got to kind of readjust there. All right, we can all see that? Yeah. Ironblood. Let's just take a look at the art here real quick. I see, a dark figure, cowled, some sort of armor, overlapping leather plates. Actually, that's a great piece of art here. I'm sure OP just grabbed some artwork, professionally done from other sources, obviously. But they credit the artist down at the bottom, so for the different pieces of art they grabbed, which was good of them. But yeah, they're making this, by the way, in Natural Crit, the website, the home brewery, just in case anyone's wondering where they created this. So you can make up your own. Actually, here, let me pull this down a little bit so you can see right there. You guys see that? Natural Crit, the home brewery, in case you guys want to, anyone out there wants to mess around with their own homebrew stuff, they can do that. So, I hope you guys can read this. Let's go. One last thing before we jump into this. I am going to give the advice out there to anyone who's doing their own homebrew, whether it's an adventure, a class, item, spells, whatever, creatures. Definitely proofread your own stuff and have other people proofread. If you're putting your writing out there for other folks to consume, don't be the only set of eyes that have looked at it before you publish. So just to anyone out there, always have one, two, three other people proofread and help you just do any spelling, punctuation, or correct, any confusing sentences and stuff like that. I'll try and point some of them out as I read that I've noticed, but I don't want to overdo it. That being said, let's continue. As he's talking to the elf, a sharp dagger appears in the hand of the half-orc. His blood drips into his hand. He takes a deep breath as the last drop of blood falls, finishing the dagger and stopping the pain from the small wound in his wrist. A sudden smile appears on the man's face before he stabs the elf in the chest, putting him into an everlasting sleep. A reddish-brown spherical copper wave blasts out of the halfling woman, after which a thick iron layer embodies her completely, wrapping her and the clothes she's wearing. An arrow shot from the man a few feet away from her deflects off the thick layer at the point where her skin was just a second ago. Two sharp blades shoot out from the wrist of a human, dripping with his blood, as he charges at the group of goblins. He looks around, and as his eyes light up white, he fights his way through the rows of enemies towards the treasure they stole from him. Whatever their powers, whatever their beliefs, all Ironbloods are members of leagues, classified by many as criminal groups. With much discipline, they fight and kill to change the world a bit more towards their beliefs. So, the Ironblood live isolated lives. Ironbloods are well-trained fighters. They see many battles throughout their lives, but are never on anyone's side, except their own. The Ironbloods are charismatic people, though they don't always use their charisma in a positive way. Using their mastered deception and persuasion, they manage to infiltrate the most important houses, castles, and even palaces, which would be inaccessible to the common folk. Ironbloods is seen by many as untrustworthy people. They only grant their trust to other Ironbloods or others whom they have known for long periods of time. They often live separated from the outsiders, only mixing into society during missions, causing them to feel different. It is not uncommon for young Ironbloods who were taken into the League at a young age to never have seen the outside world. So if you might be playing a hero who's only ever trained in like a cloistered monastery, and so they would get, say, contracted through their league to, say, an adventuring group, or by someone hiring them on, an NPC who's hiring them onto their first quest. The league says, "Yeah, you're going to be helping these other mercenaries, and good luck out there, kid." And it would be all new to the player. That would be pretty intense, I think. I like that idea a lot. When having trained enough, Ironbloods fight in wars as a hired force, or wander off alone as assassins and deceptionists, or they choose other less common professions. But wherever they go, they are always untrustworthy and paranoid of, and to, the people they don't know. One moment they fight alongside you, the other they stab you in the back. For outsiders, Ironbloods are more often than not frightening creatures, with their appearance having metal-related features integrated into it, all representing their Ironblood origin. Some have gleaming white or gray hair, while others have beautiful patterns of metal on their skin. So an Ironblood might be readily identifiable if you know what you're looking at. Well, not necessarily. Now, I will point out that as we're describing this here, it's sort of a cloistered class of people, right? This class, this type of people, these Ironbloods of the leagues, don't usually mix very well. Do be cautious if you are playing a standoffish, character who's new to the party. You're gonna have to break down those barriers pretty quickly as the player, so that character isn't too standoffish for too long. All right. No one wants that edgelord to last forever. Right? So in your first session, you might be a little like, I don't know you. But I'll just remind, I think we all know, be ready to take on the adventure. Don't, this is a class designed to be out there doing adventures, going on missions. So definitely don't resist that part. But if you are playing the character a little quiet to start with, you got to break that down quickly as the Ironblood gains trust with the other party members. Because if it's session 3 and your character still has nothing to say to anyone, that doesn't make for good role play. So just pro tip to all you players out there. You got to open up your character's emotions, thoughts, memories, and insights to the other characters in the party. And do it sooner rather than later. Okay. Life in a league. Okay, one of the most important things to an Ironblood is their league. Their league is where some of them grew up, where they trained, and where their friends are. It is the place they call home. Ironbloods are rare, but they still have managed to set up a few leagues to protect themselves from the outsiders who think Ironbloods are cursed. It is also the place where new Ironbloods get trained. Since the powers of the Ironbloods are not the most common, many only join these leagues later, at a later age, which is when they find out they have these abilities. Some are scouted much earlier and join the leagues as kids, leaving their families to never see them again. You might want to rewrite that. It says leaving their families to never be seen again. The family, the kid. It was a little clunky, in my opinion, that writing there. All leagues are different. Some are traveling companies, others are small villages, and even others are secret and spread throughout the population of cities. Okay. They all have different beliefs and lifestyles, emulating them in different ways. All right. So it could be essentially a secret underground cult within a large population. Think of like a ninja clan. It could be their own village, yes, but it also could be within, like, part of the city's fabric, the underworld, the criminal underworld, which is really cool. Created to protect their members from the cruelties of the outside world, the main goal of most leagues is to survive in different kinds of ways. The leagues use their cumulative power their members have to spread their beliefs and gather more members, doing this in different ways. Some go around and kill and torture, while others spread their beliefs in more friendly ways. So obviously the leagues are trying to survive, but they're also, it sounds like, to some degree trying to find acceptance, depending on the league's motivation. Some leagues probably do not want to be accepted, and they are a mercenary group where they want to have the threat of their assassination or their infiltration techniques, and that's how they make money, and they survive that way is by being useful to the people in power, the people with money. But other leagues may be out there trying to what is the word, proselytize and gain acceptance more commonly, and thus might be more outwardly moral or virtuous towards the general public, although secretive at all times, just to protect their survivability so they don't get wiped out. Okay, now let's get to creating an Ironblood. Now I have read through the whole class here, so I'm just going to let you know this is essentially a close combat, melee heavy class. This is like the guy who essentially just armors up, pops some blades, and rushes into combat and can survive it. So that's what we're after, with a good dash of rogue thrown in on top of that. All right. So, as we read through it, just start with that knowledge of what I've read, because obviously it's always hard to like piece it back. It's like 6 or 7 pages. It's hard to think about the whole picture, but that is the whole picture of the class. So, creating an Ironblood. When creating an Ironblood, think of where you're from. Are you from a big league or a small one? When did you join your league? Did you get picked up at a young age? Right. Or did you realize you had odd metallic properties and abilities, in seeking to understand them better, you joined a league as an adult? I think those are your 2 options, or 2 good options. Also, think of what kind of league you're in. Is it a traveling league? Or is it a small village or town, insular from the rest of the surrounding community? Does your league try to keep out of sight of outsiders, or does it welcome them in? So is it a secret society, or does it exist sort of in the cracks of a larger society, trying to survive? Since many Ironbloods use the name of their leagues as their last name, it is quite important for you to think of what the name of your league is and what kind of symbol you are marked with. Oftentimes, the name of leagues feature an animal or another thing that should represent it. I could see like a type of metal, right? Gold, platinum, something like that, copper, bronze. So it'd be like, Johann Bronze, something like that. So yeah, very cool. Quick build. You can make an Ironblood quickly by following these suggestions. First, put your highest ability score in Dexterity, followed by Charisma or Constitution. Second, choose the criminal background. Yeah, I could see doing Charisma is pretty important. A lot of the stuff is charisma based in here. So I would go your Dex, your Charisma, then Con, or I would go Charisma, Dex, Constitution. But I would make those your 3 highest, 100% based off of what I've read here. Also, yeah, a criminal background for sure. I think the what's the one? The street kid one, street urchin, would definitely apply as well, because that kind of goes along with what you could have here. All right, let's keep going. Class features. As an Ironblood, you gain the following class features: 1d8 per Ironblood level. All right, so not overly beefy on the hit points, but survivability is a big part of what this class is about. Obviously, you have the 8 plus your Con modifier for your starting hit points, and then you, of course, 1d8 plus your Con as you level. This boilerplate. I'm not going to get too into that. Proficiencies: light armor, medium armor. Weapons: simple weapons, short swords, light crossbows, long swords, scimitars. Tools: herbalism kit. All right, that's nice. Save throws: Dex and Charisma. And choose 2 skills from Athletics, Acrobatics, Persuasion, Deception, Insight, Stealth, and Sleight of Hand. Good little athletics-y rogue kind of thing there. Infiltrator, spy sort of feel. Here's your starting equipment. You get a light crossbow with 20 bolts or 10 darts. I could see going with the darts personally based off of how this works, but depending on your subclass, you might not need the darts at all. We'll get to that. A short sword or scimitar. I don't think it matters too much either way. Dungeoneer's pack or Explorer's pack, that's just your preference. Scale mail or leather armor. 2 daggers. Just 2 daggers, straight up. All right, we got to jump back up to the top here. Here we go. So we're going to get into the most basic capabilities of the class, which is going to be the Blood Thrift, the Wrist Blades, and then at level 2, you open up more stuff. So you'd have to take 2 dips into the Ironblood class to really get access to most of what's there. So you can't get it all at just level 1. I'm telling you that right now. But this is what you're going to get at level 1 if you dip into this. Beginning at first level, you have the ability to store and absorb metal weapons and tools in your blood. The time you take to do this equals 10 minutes. That's for the first time you absorb and store the item. You're essentially dissolving it into your blood. And then it exists within you. Obviously, it doesn't. It's a magical feature. So it doesn't increase your weight in any way, right? I'm just going to say that de facto. It's stored magically within the metals in your own body, your own blood. Okay. You have blood thrift slots with an amount equal to your proficiency bonus. So you're going to start off with 2 slots to store these metal weapons or tools or other metal objects. So whatever your proficiency bonus is, that's going to obviously climb up to eventually 6 total slots you could hold these items. They can be filled with weapons or tools. You can choose to fill 1 slot to store a one-handed weapon or 2 slots for a two-handed weapon. And don't overthink that too much. Just saying, yeah, if something's big, like blacksmith's tools, I would say would take 2 slots. Whereas other lesser things like, say, lockpick kit, 1 slot, right? If you're going to go for tools beyond just the weapons. Because let's face it, you don't necessarily need like 4 one-handed weapons and 1 two-handed weapon in your blood at all times. That's not really something anyone would probably need. I would also say that this ability should work on magical metal weapons or magical tools, locksmiths, things, any unusual shit you might have. Because otherwise, yeah, you're not going to want to be carrying around a mundane short sword at level 14. No, it's got to work on magical metal-based items. Okay? As an action, you can take up to 2 stored weapons or tools out of your blood. So absorbing them the first time takes 10 minutes, but spitting them back out, or maybe absorbing them at any time takes 10 minutes. Like even if you have your short sword, but to spit them out, it happens as an action. It's quick, right? It's just they're there. If the hand that the weapon will appear in is free, so you can do empty hand, you can get a dagger, short sword, whatever. Or if both your hands are free, great sword, two-handed weapon, or sword and sword. That's how it works. If you're holding stuff in your hand, because essentially it's like coming out of the wrist into the hand. It's like, a wound opens is the way it's described, and the blood flows out, creates that weapon magically out of the blood. All right. Let's see. When doing this, you take piercing damage equal to your blood thrift die. So to do this as an action, it does do a bit of damage to you. Now, the blood thrift die starts at 1d4 and goes all the way up to 1d12 by level 18, 19, 20. We'll get into that. You'll see that here shortly. But just to give you an idea, so initially, expelling equipment this way, pretty damaging, a 1d4 damage. I don't think you max the die. I think you would roll the die. I think when you take this piercing damage, you would roll the 1d4 and take that amount of damage. Otherwise, if it just maxed out, if it was the max of the die, 1d4, a 6, an 8, 10, or 12, there'd be a lot of damage to take just to use this ability, especially at lower levels. 4 hit points, no joke. So I would say you roll the die and take whatever that damage is, just in my opinion. But obviously, we'll see if OP updates this a bit. As blood from a small wound appears in your wrist and transforms into the weapon. Okay. If you haven't rolled initiative, we're going to talk about sort of essentially a surprise opportunity, surprise attack. If you haven't rolled initiative, or the DM hasn't called for initiative, is really what this is about. Combat has not started, meaning no one's ready for combat, so the potential for anyone to be surprised still exists. You can make a dexterity sleight of hand check contested by the target you're going to surprise attacks, wisdom perception check, by hostile creatures within 15 feet of you. So most of the abilities in the Ironblood have that range of 15 feet, which I like throughout. I think they keep it to 15 feet at almost all times. And it is meant to be like, yeah, this is close combat. This is meant to be used at melee distances. So if a target's within 15 feet of you, you can try and essentially form a weapon in your hand where your hands had been empty a moment before, and thus come at that person and surprise them. All right. So if they fail the perception check, they are surprised. Now, if they succeed, they're not surprised, obviously. On a success, the creatures are surprised when you attack. The creatures... You can only do this using weapons that deal 1d4 damage. Okay, so you're not... I guess anyone within 15 feet of you would have to make this roll. And then I guess that would allow you as the player to know who's surprised and who isn't, like who's flat-footed, who's not looking at you, and then you rush in. Now, as you guys should know, or if you don't know, surprise simply means that the first round, the first turn in which you are surprised, you may not take an action, and you may not take any actions in the round until after your first turn of surprise. So you're just there. Someone can be running at you with a dagger trying to stab you in the side of the neck, or someone's doing a cantrip over here off to the side. You don't notice. You're just talking at this person. You don't see what's going on over here. That's what surprise means. Now, after your turn is gone, you're like, whoa, and now you may take a reaction for the remainder of the combat round. So, but yeah, this gives, say it's 4 adventurers, 4 enemies, and they're talking, they're parlaying, or your group's walking up to some guards at a gate. Initiative's not been rolled, and you essentially would send your Ironblood up first. They would get within 5, 10, 15 feet, develop the weapon in their otherwise empty hand, and make that sleight of hand perception check. If they gain surprise on someone, even though the other guard might be readying his weapon, seeing the weapon in the hand, the one who didn't notice, who's just talking to the face of the party, your Ironblood on their turn could potentially rush up. And, well, in general, the surprise round helps everyone in the party. So it's a pretty cool feature. I wonder, though, if that surprise should only apply and can only be taken advantage of by the Ironblood against one target. Because otherwise you do run into this thing where, would you blast this out? Like, essentially it's like an AoE effect. Would you be creating surprise? Say there's 4 guards at the gate or around the king, and you're all in there. They've taken all your weapons. You walk into the king's chamber. There's the king on his throne, 2 guards to each side. If the Ironblood does this, is he putting everyone into potential surprise? That's almost like an AoE blast that would be greatly advantageous. That the Ironblood could do anytime combat hasn't started yet. That's pretty powerful. So I almost wonder if the Ironblood needs to choose a target within 15 feet, and they will surprise that one target, not everyone else around them. Yeah. And potentially the surprise would only apply to the Ironblood, meaning that the creature's only surprised that the Ironblood is attacking, not that everyone else is attacking. I don't know, but I think you need to give a thought to the mechanic, OP, and anyone who's watching. I hope you guys enjoy doing this. This is a great way to think about and learn about the mechanics of the game of D&D 5e. So, if you're still with me, let's keep going. I'm having fun. Here's the next big part of a first level Ironblood. The wrist blades. Kind of think Wolverine's claws, just shink, right? They might come out of the wrist itself or out of the knuckle, however you want to describe it, but you then just attack with those. Starting at first level, you can create blades from your wrists. As a bonus, as an action or bonus action, you can choose if you will take out one or both of your wrist blades. So it can be action or bonus action. There's versatility there, right? Depending on what would help you out the most in the moment. In sizes varying from almost a foot to a few inches long. So you could just pop out one that's just literally just like this, or to about the size of a dagger, good sized dagger. When attacking with this weapon, you can choose to add your dexterity or strength modifier, as it is considered to be a finesse weapon. On a hit, you deal the amount of piercing damage equal to your blood thrift die. So at lower levels, like 1 through 4, it's going to be a 1d4 weapon, essentially. You are proficient in using your wrist blades. Awesome, so you get to add your proficiency to the attack. While your wrist blades are out, you are not able to hold shields or two-handed weapons. However, you are able to use features like magnetic response if you need the word you in there, if you aren't holding onto any other any other object. Okay, so little spelling correction there. You can make one wrist blade attack as a bonus action. Independent of it, you make independent of if you make an attack with your wrist blade with your action. So let's finish this and I'll describe what this means. For example, if you use your Copper Blast, which is a special ability Ironbloods have, as an action, you can also make a single wrist blade attack as a bonus action, assuming you haven't already taken a bonus action on this turn. That's right. You only ever get one bonus action. Just pretty much, that's kind of it. So what it means is that you can have one wrist blade out in a short sword. You could attack normally with the short sword, and then as a bonus action, make an attack with the wrist blade. And you might be thinking, well, that's kind of like just dual wielding, but it's not. These both count as this bonus action attack is just a straight up attack. It doesn't because with the offhanded attack, you don't add your dex or strength mod to the damage roll or something. But this doesn't have that limitation of dual. It is better than a dual attack in the sense that you can always use your bonus attack and get a full good attack off that wrist blade. Or if you have both wrist blades, you could attack, bonus, action, bonus action, hit. I would say that you could theoretically use a shield in one hand if you only have one wrist blade out. So just to clarify, or you could be holding any other object in your other hand if you only use one wrist blade. So I think that's kind of the salient points of that. Let's now get on to level 2. This is where you'd really want to dip in 2 full levels into Ironblood if you were going to multi-class this. This is the other big chunk of the abilities in the Ironblood are coming up right here, right now. Actually, before we go any further, let's look at the stat sheet, just to give everyone an idea. So we're going to scroll down here. Here it is. Now, one thing to bear in mind about the Ironblood is there's about 20 special abilities, skills, spells that you need to learn. It's kind of like the monk in that way, where it's a lot of very unique named things that you don't see anywhere else in the D&D system. So not a big deal though, but it is it's the kind of class where you need to learn it and master it as a player. But it's totally worth doing. Very much like the monk in that sense. So let's just take a quick look here. Your proficiency scaling is identical to any other class, +2 to +6. Your blood thrift, though, kind of follows along with the proficiency chart almost exactly. So you get the 1d4 while you're at proficiency +2, or it has no, it's not related, but it just they line up. Then you move to a 1d6 for your blood thrift, then a 1d8, 1d10, and finally at 17th level you're a 1d12. So this would allow you to, I think I skipped over. When you absorb weapons into your blood, it talks about how the hit die of the weapon, maybe I haven't gotten to that point yet. I won't go any further. Finally, starting at 2nd level, you get your blood points. That's why I'm saying you need to dip 2 levels into Ironblood if you're going to multi-class it, because this is where you get the blood points, not unlike key points. And this will open up a lot of the special abilities. But these just progress straight from 2 to 20. Pretty straightforward. But yeah, you can see in here you got your blood thrift, your wrist blades to start. Then you get the Ironblood's root, the blood utility. And then from there, it's just an ability, an assortment of abilities based off your blood utility, different Ironblood specific stuff. Obviously, you have your ASIs where you'd expect them. Couple other little interesting things, but yeah, we'll get into all that here. It's a great fun class, so just stick with me. So here we are back to Ironblood's root. At 2nd level, you choose a root that you emulate in the exercise of your Ironblood abilities. This is your subclass. We've got 2 of them: Root of the Underworld or Root of the Everlife. Both are detailed at the end of the class description. Your choice grants you features at 2nd level, and again at 7th, 10th, and 15th level. We'll get to those. Now, here's your blood utility. Starting at 2nd level, you are trained well enough to master the blood power Ironbloods possess. Your strength with this power is represented by a number of blood points. Your Ironblood level determines the number of points you have, as shown on the blood points column of the Ironblood table. So we just looked at that. Here's the blood points column. Let's keep going down. You know, I think I did skip over one little important part. Let's jump back up here real quick to Blood Thrift. Oh gosh, I could have sworn some here it talked about. Yes, here we go. I skipped this paragraph. Hold on. This has to do with absorbing metal weapons or metal tools. You're able to absorb weapons that are lower or equal to the damage dealt by the Blood Thrift feature. So to start with levels 1 through 4, your Blood Thrift die is a D4. So you can only absorb weapons where the dice you roll for that weapon are up to or equal to what your Blood Thrift is. So a D4's worth of weapon up until the final. If your weapon you want to absorb has multiple dice, like a greatsword, 2d6, that would be up to 12 points of damage. So to absorb that greatsword, you would need a Blood Thrift die of D12 to match the 2d6, a 6 and a 6. Or a D10 weapon, you'd have to have a Blood Thrift die. Yeah, so that I skipped over that. But I'm also going to say that this definitely, again, has to work for magical weapons and tools. Otherwise, it just won't be particularly useful to have mundane weapons stored inside of you later on in the game. Especially when you got your own little wrist blades, you don't need separate weapons, to be real honest, but unless they're magical. So, let's continue. Back to it here, folks. Okay, you can spend, we're talking about the blood points. You can spend these blood points to utilize various blood features. You start knowing 3 such features right away. Alternate enemy, Quicken blades, stop senses. You learn more blood features as you gain levels in this class. When you spend a blood point, it is unavailable until you finish a short or long rest, at the end of which you regain all your expended blood points. So, yeah, even after a short rest, you get all your blood points back. However, there's one small caveat. You must spend at least 30 minutes of the rest, short or long, sleeping or in a trance to regain your blood points. So there is that little thing there. You can't just sit down by the campfire for 10 minutes. Like, you actually have to, like, sleep or meditate, which I would say would give you disadvantage, at perception checks and things like that, obviously. And you're probably prone, or the effect of being prone. If you're sitting there meditating on the floor, yeah, in my mind, that would count as prone from a DM's point of view. Some of your blood features require you to target or to make saving throws to resist the feature's effects. The saving throw is calculated as normal. Ironblood save DC is at 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier. So I was saying charisma is super important for the class. I would put that at number 1 personally. Alternate enemy. So this is the first of the abilities you gain at level 2 here. You can spend 1 blood point when a creature makes a melee attack against you, but the result of the attack is yet unknown. To use your reaction to try and change the target of the attack. So think about this. The Ironblood is essentially trying to use their power, the magnetic powers, to deflect the incoming attack at someone else. Okay? The attacking creature makes a wisdom saving throw to resist your effect. On a failure, it attacks a creature of your choice within melee range of the attacking creature. Yes. So you can deflect them to attack their own ally if they're within melee range of them. That's pretty cool. The creature still attacks you if there are no other creatures in its range or if it succeeds on the save. So that's right. If it's just you and the creature, this isn't going to help you. If there's no one else around you, that is the one limitation. But if they are around their allies, that is the time when you would use it, because you can make that creature attack one of their compadres standing next to them. That's pretty cool. I like that. And it's situational. It's not something you'd use all the time, but yeah, it could save you from taking damage and deal damage to an enemy in one special, situation. Yeah, I like that kind of versatility. All right, here's our next ability, Quicken blades. You can spend 1 blood point to make 2 attacks with your wrist blades as a bonus action, independent if you took the the attack action, the action. It's a special action. The attack action on this turn. So essentially, yeah, you're just converting a blood point into another bonus attack, right? You get your attack, you get your bonus attack, You spend 1 blood point, and you get another bonus attack. Full on. So, yeah, just straight dealing damage. Stopped senses. As an action, you can choose to spend 1 blood point to use the blood of a creature to blind or deafen them, to use their own blood within their own head or sensing things. The creature, if within range of 20 feet of you, must make a Constitution saving throw to try and resist this effect. On a failure, they are blinded or deafened till the end of their next turn. Now, one thing I noticed, OP, I would make this 15 feet. This is about the only place in the entire class description where you switch from 15 to 20. I would keep it at 15 just for simplicity's sake. That's one of those numbers that's going to get forgotten over and over again. That's just my take. Also, I would specify that this is any creature essentially with fluids in their bodies. I know it's all kludgy. Like, I could see it working on a zombie, but not a skeleton. Not a construct, but an ooze, because an ooze has all sorts of fluids with tons of metals and salts, a lot of metallic salts, in their body. So I understand that the blood magic should work even against an ooze, in my opinion, or a Medusa, or a human, or whatever. But I would make the caveat, any living creature or any creature with fluids in their body, and you just, that way maybe even if it's something that's not a live construct with liquids inside, if there's liquid metal, I would say it's going to work. So you got to come up with a good definition of that somehow. Just a little clarity, because I think you could have this argument with your DM at the table of like, will it work on this creature? So yeah, we got to define it a little bit. Either any living creature with fluid, I would say, would be the basis. It's either blood or it's a fluid in the living creature that has metals in it. Otherwise, you could probably say, well, constructs don't have liquids inside of them. It's not metallic liquids. They might have oil, but that's not a salt or a metal. So, it's not going to work there. Obviously, a skeleton has no fluids or blood of any kind, but a zombie would. So, maybe you say it doesn't work against undead, period, though. Huh? I don't know. Yeah. It's a tough one. You might even want to say, throw in here, talk to your D, or maybe in the whole class description, when you're talking about these bloodborne powers, you have add a little paragraph, a little header at the beginning of the class saying, discuss with your DM what types of creatures will be affected by your Ironblood capabilities. That's just a conversation you should have before it comes up in session and it's an argument. Right? I know that's not usually how they write these, but for this class, I think it would help. Okay, let's keep going. This is a 3rd level ability, Magnetic Help. Beginning at 3rd level as a bonus action, you can magnetically pull a metal weapon with the light property that you can see towards you. This object must be within 15 feet of you. If this object is held by another creature, you are not able to use this feature on the object. You are also not able to use this feature if both your hands are holding something. So you need an empty hand, and the weapon has to be of the light property, or I would say any other metal object unattached that is 5 pounds or less, right? Like goblets, things like that. Anything you can pull at you that's metal, as long as it's not being held or it's not affixed to something. Now, at 9th level, you can pull any metal weapon, metal shield, or metal tool that you can see within 15 feet towards you. If this object is in someone's hand, the creature must successfully make a strength saving throw to keep the weapon. So this is appropriate, it is powerful, it's situational, but I think it is worth it. At level 9, you could potentially disarm or de-shield an opponent. That's pretty cool. Now, you do make the point here, metal tool. No, I would have the metal tool fallen up here if it's not held. And at the 9th level, you can grab any of these things, weapons, shields, metal tools, even if they're held or fastened down, right? Yeah, within reason. Like it's in a sack or it's tied off or something. You just rip it out of there. Okay, let's keep going. magnetic response. So that was magnetic help at level 3. You get another power called magnetic response at level 3. So you get quite a bit of stuff the first several levels of this class, like a lot of abilities to learn. But it thins out a bit more as you go down, so it's not like so dense, but it is pretty dense to start with. But I like it. I'd play this character. This is awesome. Starting at third level, you can use your magnetic powers to manipulate flying objects. As a reaction, you can spend 1 blood point to stop or deflect flying metal objects and missiles using a free hand. You have to have an empty hand to use this power as well. But only if the object is within 20 feet of you. I'd switch that to 15 again. It should all be 20 or it should all be 15, my friend. You keep alternating. So clarify that. Simplify it. Okay? You can wait until after the d20 is rolled by the attacker to use the magnetic response, but you must decide before the damage die is rolled. Okay? So it's kind of like a monk's deflect arrow-ish kind of thing, but yeah. You can see if it hits before you burn the reaction, burn the blood point, but you can't wait till the damage die is rolled. Okay, when using this feature, you roll 1d10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your Ironblood level. Is that how they do it for the monks? I guess if that's how a monk does it, it's just adding 3 numbers is kind of a bummer. Personally, I would do 1d10 plus your Ironblood level. So you're essentially 1d10 plus 1 to start. Well, you wouldn't have this feature till third, so it would be 1d10 plus 3, and then up to 1d10 plus 20. That's pretty powerful, but yeah, okay. Dex, if that's how the monk does it, then sure, okay. If the damage is reduced to 0, you use the free hand to magnetically stop the object in midair. So you're like force stopping it, literally magnetic force. Or it hits you. If it's not reduced to 0, you take that little bit of remaining damage. You slowed the projectile down. You know, it did 12 points of damage. You rolled a 10, so minus 10 points. It hits you for 2, right? I think that's how that works. Otherwise, you freeze it in midair. If you stop an object in this way, you can make a ranged attack with the weapon or piece of ammunition that you just stopped as part of the same reaction. So you could stop it, throw it back, right? To do, let's see, from where you stopped it. Where you stopped it is going to be in the space with you. It's going to, just so you're not stopping objects like 20 feet away or 10 feet away. Consider it, it's an origination point where you are. You stop it right, just, short of your hand. You're not catching it, but you're not stopping it like 6 feet away in the other square, is my point. To do that later, you must spend 1 blood point. When throwing an object back, its range is 20/60 feet. So it's just saying you could freeze the item, have it floating there, and not throw it back immediately as part of this current reaction. It's kind of free. If you wait and hold on to another turn before throwing the projectile away, it's going to cost you a blood point to do that later. So it's way less efficient to hold on to that thing and keep it there. It's taking up your hand, and it's going to take an extra blood point to throw it back. So you want to do it in the same reaction. In my opinion, that's the right way to use that ability. Okay, we've got our ASIs, ability score improvements, coming in standard 4, 8, 12, 16, 19. We don't need to go over that any further. Inner compass. Beginning at 4th level, you have made a magnetic connection with the poles, the magnetic poles of your world, which is strong enough to let you precisely locate them. I would specify the magnetic poles of your planet. Because you're saying poles, but to non-English speakers, poles could literally mean just like a fence post, right? A poll could mean like a vote, like we're taking a poll. They might not associate that with magnetic poles. So I would say the magnetic pole of your planet, or the planet you're on. Okay? Just for clarification for non-English speakers. Using this feature, you're able to precisely tell where the north, south, east, and west are, but you don't know your exact geographical location. Okay, this is one of those ones where, in every class description, there's always a couple abilities that are kind of like, that's really specific, or that's not that good. This is not high-powered, but I think it needs to be a little more powerful than it is. I would say that you have advantage. This power allows you to know north, south, east, west. It does not give you an exact geographical location. No, that's fine. However, it gives advantage on any roll to avoid being lost or to find your way. So if you're trying to navigate terrain or you're lost, you've been magically teleported somewhere and you're trying to get to some place, advantage on navigation checks. Yeah, advantage on navigation checks. It doesn't come up often, so I don't think it's unbalanced in any way, but it just makes it a little more useful to try and find your way somewhere. Okay? So if you're lost by accident or you've been deliberately marooned somewhere, yeah. I digress. Let's keep going. Iron Crust. Starting at 5th level, you can spend 1 blood point as a reaction to getting hit to create an iron crust around your body to protect you from any attacks. This crust adds a +4 bonus to your AC and lasts until the end of your next turn. So it's a reaction, yes, like it's instinctive, like you're forming this metallic crust all over your body. You get that +4 to your AC. It lasts, though, against any other incoming attacks over the course of the remainder of the combat round until the end of your next turn. So you won't necessarily have it for a full combat round because, say, the last enemy before your turn attacks you and you use it as your reaction, you only gain that +4 crust. Then it goes to your turn, and it was like, well, it only helped you with 1 attack. However, if you purposely budget your reactions, like say in a large combat where there's like 6 enemies and the 4 of your party members, and when the first, you know that 2 or 3 of these guys are going to target you, you want to pop that as soon as possible. Or in the case of you're charging into the pack of goblins, a squad of goblins have just burst through the door, you tell your friends, stay back, I got this. Your eyes glow white, you charge in there, and you have this iron crust around you. You're going to try and gain that, draw as many attacks as possible because you're hopefully going to have that +4. But yeah, it is a reaction to getting hit, so there is that one little thing. It is situational in that sense, is that you don't get to pop it whenever you want. You have to wait for one of them to attack you, but presuming most DMs are going to do it so that all creatures of one type, like say all 6 goblins, go on the same round. If you deliberately put yourself in there and you yell for them, tell the DM, I want to scream at them and try and get as many to attack me as possible, usually your DM will be like, yeah, okay, yeah, you draw the attention of a few of them. Then one of them hits you, you use your reaction, you gain the +4, and then any other attacks that come in, you're going to be greatly reduce the damage you got incoming. So that's the right way to use this ability. This is a thinking person's class. I love it. Love it. There's a little bit more to this one, though. You can decide to use this feature after the DM states if the attack hits or not, but you must decide before the damage die is rolled. Yeah, that's the correct way to do that. Additionally, if an attack against you misses when your iron crust is on you, you gain advantage on your next attack roll against the creature attacking you. Essentially, if a creature misses you, you will gain advantage on your next attack against that creature that missed. It's a little kludgy. It's a little kludgy on how that works. You know, the iron crust doesn't protect you against just the next attack. It protects you until the end of your turn. So through a portion of a whole combat round, you have this protection. So it's essentially saying, okay, creature attacks you, they miss. They don't miss. What they're doing is they're hitting the iron crust and it's deflecting off, right? Because AC doesn't mean miss. AC can also mean it absorbs it and you don't take any damage. It's like a shield, a +2 to your AC from a shield. The shield doesn't mean the enemy's arrow goes flying past. It means the arrow hit the shield, but your armor class prevented you from being hit, taking damage. So the idea there is that your iron crust has deflected a weapon, has glanced off of you, or the enemy thought they stabbed you right in the chest, but it didn't hurt you, and they're surprised, and now you get to hack down on them because they weren't prepared for that to happen. So I would say that, yeah, I guess if anyone who attacks you on that turn that iron crust is up, if they miss, you make a little note and say, goblins 1, 3, and 4, I have advantage if I attack them on the next attack. Only one, but it might be more than one that you gain the advantage on, but it's only going to last for the next attack you do if it's against one of those creatures. So it's a little clue. I have to think about it a lot, but it's a little awkward. That second paragraph of this ability, yeah. You might want to specify that the first creature misses. If an attack against you misses when your Iron Crest is on, yeah, it could be more than one creature that this works on. Yeah. If you could think of a good way to clarify it in just a sentence or two, like add on what I'm describing, or people can just think through it the way I did and figure it out, but it isn't instinctively obvious. Let's continue. This is incredibly long. That's all right. Copper Blast. It's 6th level. You can spend 2 blood points to create a blast of copper. As an action, you create a copper wave after which each creature within a 10-foot radius sphere originating from you must make a Constitution saving throw. The creature must be large or smaller, so tiny, small, medium, large, or they automatically succeed on the save. Okay, so huge or greater will automatically succeed on this. On a failed save, the creature takes 2 times your blood thrift die in magical bludgeoning damage and is pushed 10 feet away from you. So does that mean, though, with 2 times your blood thrift die, does it mean you roll? So say your blood thrift die now at level 6 would be a 1d6. You roll 2d6 to determine the damage, or is it 12 points of damage flat? Clarify a little bit. Because that greatly affects. I think you could roll the damage die, but just you might want to put the word. Yeah. 2 times. That is what it means. That is right in D&D when they write that. That's what that means. 2 times your damage die means 2 of the die. You roll the die. Okay. I'm over. In magical bludgeoning damage, and is pushed away 10 feet from you. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't pushed. So, yes, obviously you do roll the die. I'm sorry. I'm being a dummy. There's not a good way to say that besides the way they do, but you always roll the die when it says die. Additionally, unsecured objects that are completely within the area of effect are automatically pushed 10 feet away from you by the feature's effect. And it's just... This would, anything that would make sense. Like an anvil, probably going to be secured to the platform, super, super heavy. I don't think that would get pushed. A ship's anchor on a deck, probably not going to get pushed. So a little bit of reason there. Your DM will decide. But yeah, objects, things that a person could pick up, those type of metal objects are going to get pushed away from you. Like a safe, I don't think a safe's going to get pushed away from you, right? That weighs hundreds of pounds. No, I don't think so. But yeah, that's a cool, at level 6, that's appropriate. It's an AoE attack. It's going to hit a lot of times because they just get that con save. It's guaranteed damage of some sort, right? As well as you can make space around you if you're being overwhelmed. So again, this leans to that idea of you're rushing into the goblin squad and you're going to take them all on. So at level 6, that's pretty suitable capability. And how often? 2 blood points. So, there is a limit on how much you can use it. Let's jump back up. When using this feature, you can choose to increase the damage or to spend an extra blood point to knock the creatures who failed their save prone. Okay, so you can upcast this by putting additional blood thrift dice. Now, if you spend 1 additional blood thrift, you can make it, because it's or. You can increase the damage by a blood die or spend an extra blood point to knock the creatures who failed their save prone. One or the other. It doesn't do both. It's an or, not an and. If you choose to increase the damage, you can spend an extra blood point to increase the damage done by 1 blood thrift die to a maximum of 3 additional blood points. I would say the 1 extra blood point for the prone feature is independent of the 3 additional blood points for the damage, because the 3 additional blood points is here in the damage sentence, not in the knock prone sentence. So theoretically, you could upcast 4 blood points on this. 3 of them would go to damage. 1 would give the effect of knocking prone, if you really needed it. Okay, if you wanted to be cool, like if you're just like, nah, man, I'm going all in on this prone die. prone blood point, and they get knocked back and they get knocked flat. And you're like, yeah. Okay, magical blades, also at level 6. Starting at 6th level, your wrist blades count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. That's good. It's appropriate. It might even be a little late, but you got to fit it in somewhere. And you know what? Hey, I think it's okay sometimes to have a little bit of a weakness. I would say that really the magical blades would be better suited at level 5. But you're saying, hey, you know what? This guy's got other abilities. I'm going to put in a level 6, and it's just something you got to do. You can always go get a magical dagger or short sword if you want to, and have that weapon that way. But otherwise, if you want it innate to you, part of your blood magic, you got to wait till level 6, and then now your blood is magical. It counts as a magic weapon. So I think it's fine that it's there at 6. No issue with that. But it's pretty appropriately timed in the progression. I like that. The Metal Grasp. Beginning at 7th level, you're able to create metal grapplers from your feet. As an action, you gain the ability to move up, down, and across vertical surfaces and upside down along ceilings while leaving your hands free. You can walk on a ceiling, have your weapons out or your wrist blades, and be attacking anyone beneath you. Like you're hanging upside down, right? And you're that's cool. You can see up my nose. Congratulations. You also gain a climbing speed equal to your walking speed. Yeah, you're essentially walking. You are just walking up walls, across ceilings. I think that's really cool. Yeah, and I would say that also works on slippery slopes. I would put that in there. Is unusually smooth surfaces like ice or oiled surfaces don't count as difficult terrain for you. I would put that in there. Okay, blood termination. Starting at 9th level, when you are knocked unconscious, you are able to get yourself back up by stopping yourself from bleeding out, healing some of your wounds in the process. This is wonderful. This is an instant KO revival mechanic. So only when you're knocked unconscious, this will trigger. Once per long rest at the beginning of your next turn, you regain half your iron blood level rounded down in hit points. So at 9th level when this starts, you are going to be at the D8 for your iron blood level. So at a minimum, you'll gain 4 health back. So you get knocked to 0, you're down. At the beginning of your next turn, your eyes pop open as your wounds like close up. Your blood literally like closes things up, and you regain that little bit of health to get you up from prone, and you can act. That's cool. It's only once per long rest, so you can't do it over and over in the same fight. So I don't think it's overpowered at all, but it is like an instant save. I mean, you don't go down that often, or you shouldn't be. So yeah, this could save a lot of Ironblood's lives. Oh, I can imagine the half dozen times this could come up over the course of a years-long campaign. This keeps your character from dying. Gets you right back in the fight. Not with much health, but at least one more attack. Or maybe just the time you need to do that one big, copper blast or something to turn the tide. So I like that. Twisted Hand. Beginning at 11th level, you're able to manipulate the blood inside other living creatures using the iron inside their blood. As an action, you can spend 2 blood points so you can use a free hand to deal damage from inside to a creature within 20 feet of you. Again, 15 or 20, my friend. Choose one. Okay, but get this, you guys. This is free hand. You're a creature within 20 feet of you. You're using your hand. It has to be empty because you're manipulating them, crushing their heart like that. So you're actually using your hand to do it, but it's at range. You're magically manipulating the blood in their body. This creature must make a Constitution saving throw or receive 4d8 necrotic damage from its own blood and be stunned till the beginning of its next turn. So it's a hit and a stun. This feature only works on creatures from your plane of existence with blood inside their bodies. So I would guess what I would probably say again is living creatures, but I think this would work against an ooze again for the same reasons. Okay, so I would say yes, it won't work against an elemental, a construct, or an undead. Those are not living things, and they don't really have blood. Because a water elemental is made of a fluid, but there's not metal in that water, right? And a fire elemental might not have like lava. It might just be literal fire. So, yeah. Earth elemental has metals in them, but it's not in a liquid form. It's crystalline, right, in the rocks and the ores of their body. So I would say this doesn't work against elementals, constructs, or undeads. That's probably a general caveat for. But otherwise, if you're fighting a fey creature, from the Feywild, I would say you could, like a little pixie. So, you know how annoying pixies are. You want to just like crush one's heart with your hand. You're just like, I'm crushing you. I'm crushing you. Yeah. Why can't you crush a pixie's heart? I think that's awesome. so, yeah, we need to clarify somewhere in here what this officially works on and what it doesn't. All the blood powers. So, again, elementals, constructs, undead, I'd say no. But the other creatures it does, whether or not they're from your plane of existence. Yeah. Okay. You can spend more blood points to increase the damage by 1d8 per blood point to a maximum of 5 extra blood points. Okay. So yeah, and that's right. This is using the d8 as the base for this magical effect, not your blood die, your bloodthirst die. Yeah. So but yeah, you can boost that way up to 5 extra, so that's 5 plus 4, so 98 necrotic damage. But yeah, you'd be boiling away a lot of blood points, 7 blood points, but it's a massive hit. Now, it does say here, though, that if they make the con save, they take no damage. But that's okay, I think, because this is an all or nothing. It's a powerful attack, and it stuns if they fail. They're stunned till the beginning of its next turn. It's an all or nothing. It's either a home run or it's nothing at all. I think that's okay, especially if you upcast that. You could crush a BBEG. If you know you're going against a powerful enemy and you happen to know their constitution isn't particularly high or they don't have a save in con, I don't know how you'd know that, but if you did, yeah, you could devastate an enemy with this, especially upcast. Plus the stun, then all your allies are just dogpiling on that stunned creature. Oof. Yeah, this is a killing blow. That's an assassin's blow right there. Okay, I like it. I do like it. Knowing touch. At 13th level, you have learned to precisely locate any metal object you have touched in the past 3 days using magnetic energy to guide you. You sense the direction of the object's location as long as the object is within 1,000 feet of you. If the object is in motion, you know the direction of its movement. This feature can locate a specific metal object known by you as long as you have touched the object at least once in the past 3 days. Alternatively, the feature can locate the nearest object of a particular kind of metal, such as a certain kind of furniture, tool, or weapon. Yeah, I would say worked metal is a quick caveat, just so you don't have players trying to find pockets of ore. This isn't that powerful of a thing, but if people could just like use it to find gold veins, I could see it getting a little abused. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a tough one at 13th level. It's a very high level to gain the ability, and it's situational. I mean, listen, if you're like looking for the king's ring, you would kissed it, and the king's been kidnapped, and now you can track the king within a quarter mile. That's a pretty useful ability, but it's so situational. That's my concern. But yeah, it's good. It's not that good though. It's one of the weaker things. But you know what? Every class build has a couple weak abilities, so yeah, let it ride. It's free. You just get to use it if you want. So you can track your own friends that way. Like if you tell your DM that every morning when you wake up and you're closing up camp or you're leaving the inn, you make a point of going around and patting each of your friends. You're either touching their shield, their sword, something on their pack, like so you're not being all handsy, but you're like, hey bud, you touch their shield or the hilt of their dagger sticking out of their belt. You let your DM know that, then you always have the ability to track any of your friends. That would be a clever little roleplay thing You just play in there, and as long as your DM's cool with saying that that's a habit you've formed as you've developed your friendships, that I can see that being pretty cool. Okay, just role play idea. Blood Eye. Starting at 14th level, you're able to manipulate the minds of others with the purpose to infiltrate. You can spend 6 blood points, a lot, to make your eyes red as blood and trick a number of creatures you can see equal to your blood thrift die. These creatures must be within 15 feet of you and make a wisdom saving throw to resist the effect. On a successful save, they are aware that you tried to use this feature on them and they're able to resist it. On a failed save, these creatures are charmed. You say feature but are able to resist it. They're aware you try to use this feature, but they're able to resist it. Okay. On a failed save, these creatures are charmed. See you as a friend, and you automatically succeed on all deception checks against them. They will not follow your commands, but you do gain advantage on persuasion checks as long as the creatures won't have to put themselves or their allies in danger. You also create an illusion, which only they and you can see within a 15-foot cube of you, which feels as real. I'm not clear on that illusion sentence. I don't know what the illusion's for. A 15-foot cube, I would go 15-foot radius, because the ability already works out to 15 feet in any direction, whereas a 15-foot cube would be 7.5 feet, 7.5 feet, not 15 and 15. So I do a 15-foot sphere. Get rid of the cube thing, right? Why is it squared off? Sphere. But I don't understand what the illusion is of. You just any illusion you want? Okay, I guess. I don't understand what the need of this is, but which feels as real. Okay, you could see it and maybe even feels real to everyone. I just don't know what the illusion is of. I guess I'm not sure what the point of the mechanic is there. You've already charmed people, so they're already compliant to you in general. Why? I don't know. Okay. That doesn't really make sense to me. When a creature under the effect, add the word the, of this feature takes any damage, they may attempt to save again. The feature also ends after 10 minutes or after you decide to end it. Creatures who fail their first save are unaware that the feature has ended and have no recollection of what happened during this duration. Boom. You're probably wondering about this ability. Why would you spend 6 blood points on this? Like a kind of a beefed up charm? Well, it's because even when it ends, it's like pass without trace. They don't know what happened. If this works, like I wouldn't try and use this against 3 or 4 enemies at once, because odds are it's not going to work on very well. But against 1 or 2 guards, you go in, yeah, you could absolutely get past them and they would never know. Never know. So that's kind of cool. Iron Skin. At 17th level, iron becomes integrated into your skin. When using your Iron Crust feature, you don't have to spend any blood points to activate it. Additionally, if you fall unconscious, your Iron Crust automatically forms around your body. I like that. That's cool. At 17th level, iron becomes integrated in your skin. When using your Iron Crust feature, you don't spend any blood points to activate it. Okay. And I guess the Iron Crust only works as a reaction to when someone's trying to attack you. So, because otherwise you'd be like, if it was free, I would just have it up all the time. It's like, no, you don't get to decide when it happens. That's one of the interesting things about Iron Crust, is that you don't get to trigger it when you want. You can only be triggered as a reaction to an attack against you. So it's not always going to be there. But yeah, you would use it a lot. And at 17th level, that +4 AC is not an overpowered in any way. To have it pretty much going almost all the time, yeah, I think that's suitable. Forge, starting at 18th level, you learn how to change the appearance of any metal object. Make the caveat, including magic items. Otherwise, this is not powerful enough for level 18. Any metal object, including magic ones, in my opinion. To do this, you must take 1 hour in which you completely focus on the object you want to change the appearance of. Before you do this, you must also have a similar object to the object you want to create. So the model. You have to have the object you're going to change in a model of the object you want to make it look like. Okay? To take inspiration and metal from them. Oh, okay. You're going to come, yeah, you're blending it and getting inspiration on it. It takes an hour. You got, okay. These objects together must be half the final product's worth in GP. Okay, so you can make something worth more than what you started from, but only double the value of it is essentially what that's saying. You can't just like make it, insanely. You can't take an object that worth 1,000 and turn it into something worth 10,000 GP. Not how it works. You can only up to double the value. Okay. After an hour is over, the object has changed its appearance. It must still be the same size and type of object, but you can change its color, metal type, meaning like silver to gold, gold to copper, features and shapes. Features, I would guess, means decorations. I'm going to be really honest with you. I think for this at level 18 to be useful, it must be the same size. You may change its color, its metal type, features, and shape, but I don't think it needs to be the same type of object. Yeah. I think you could turn a dagger into a sickle, or a +1 sickle into a short sword, something like that, or a necklace into a ring, a necklace into a crown into a bracelet. But that the ability, like, think how powerful that is. You have the ability to reforge any magic item, including magical ones, change their appearance and form into something else. And whatever that magical ability is stays. So say you do have a circlet of the sages. It gives you a +1 to your wisdom score. You may reforge that into a dagger that is now a dagger of wisdom. It gives you a +1 to your wisdom score. That's really unusual in D&D to be able to reforge magical items. But I think that is what it needs to be for this to have any use at 18th level. It works on magic items, and I think you can change the object type. My opinion, okay? And then finally here we have Disarming Blow. 20th level, your magnetic powers are powerful enough to send out a strong magnetic wave. As an action, you can send out a wave in a 60-foot sphere originating from you. Every creature in the sphere must make a Constitution saving throw to resist the power of the wave. On a failure, the creature is pushed away, stunned, and falls prone on the outside of the sphere, 60 feet away from you, outside of the sphere, taking 8 times your blood thrift die in damage. Big hit. It's going to be a D12 at this level. 20th? Yeah. 8d12. On a success, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't stunned or pushed away. However, it does fall prone. So this is like, yeah, you're fighting the Titan, and they're like, they don't get pushed back, and they're not stunned, but they do. It essentially just knocks them flat. So they're so big, the wave can't push them 60 feet away, but it does knock them down. It's like an explosive level of power. Doing a 8d12 of your blood thrift die, monster attack here. Additionally, all objects, including those on creatures made of metal, are pushed away. I'd say even if they're fastened down, even an anvil would be pushed away. Even a safe would be pushed away by this. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Yeah, this is your all-out finishing move here. It's at level 20. It's not inappropriate at all. Super cool concept. Like you're explosively just throwing everything away from you, like a bomb, 60 feet. And you don't get to choose allies and enemies. This is anything and everything that has metal or blood is going to be affected by this. You won't knock the wheat over, though. If you're in a field of wheat or corn, they'll be unaffected. They'll just wave in the breeze. But anything else, people wearing armor, people with blood in them, again, like an anvil or a cannon or something, a boat anchor chain, great effect. I love it. So Here's the problem. We're now in 15 minutes. I have the Ironblood roots. There's 2 of them. I am going to save that for a second video. Listen, OP, great class. Anyone who's stuck with it, obviously you got to be a huge D&D nerd to have gone through this with me and read over this class. But this is what Homebrew's all about. This is what well done Homebrew's about. Now, listen, I have critiqued this. It's not all perfect. I'm sure any of you who are watching were going, oh, this seems a little much or a little less. That's fine. That's part of the nature of Homebrew. But guess what? Even the professionals, even what's coming in the player's handbook and all these modules, doesn't all come out exactly balanced the way we think it should be. So the fact that GiveMeDice here has gone through the effort to make such a high-level class, fully fleshed out, so much thought, with a real genre. It's got a real vibe to it, right? This isn't just like, I mean, it might be based off of a character in a book, but the whole thing is thought through. It's like got a feel, like a Magneto-esque kind of character. So well done. But I'm going to give you a second video to get through those subclasses. But this is just so dang wonky. I'll leave it there. GiveMeDice. I love this. Anyone else, if you have Homebrew, I will absolutely review your Homebrew and make you a video. It can be a piece of art. It can be a magic item, a creature type, an entire class. It can even be not related to D&D, a different role-play system. I've played many of them over the decades. I will give you critique if you want it. I'll make you a little video. Probably won't always be this long, but GiveMeDice is one of my homies here on the subreddit. They've posted before. So, hey, if they're part of my gang, then I'm going to take care of them. And if you want to get in here on the Homebrew, post your stuff, I will absolutely support you. That's what this is about, is you folks being creative in your Homebrew. It's not me being creative. I'm just talking about it. I got a little bit of a voice, and I'm pretty quick with my wit, I guess. So that's why I shoot these videos. But it's my hobby. If this is your hobby, post. You get yourself a video. Thank you for watching. Take care.